program is still today with John and Helen live, and let's now meet Ekwueme. Ekwueme is a renowned A-list voiceover artist and one of Africa's most sought-after talents, with a versatile voice spanning a warm, smooth tenor baritone range. Eric masterfully delivers both neutral international sounds and authentic African accents. He has voiced for over 70% of Africa's top brands, earning admiration across major markets. That said, I'd like to welcome, he's giving me a complex already, but I'd like to welcome Eric Ekwueme to the show. Eric, you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
When I grow up, I want to be like you.
It's the other way.
It's the other way around.
It's the other way around. I want to be like you when I grow up.
When you grow up. So Eric, tell me quickly, tell us about your journey, really, into the world of professional voiceovers and what inspired you to pursue this career.
Thank you for that. My journey started about some 40-something years ago as a child. I think that was my first.
That was your first?
The sound effects.
Yes.
But, on a more serious note, I started this journey about, this is my 19th year.
Okay.
I started in 2006.
Okay.
I had just joined a communications firm, and prior to that, I had done a lot of stage performances,
Okay.
classical music performances, and working on some of these projects kind of made my speech a little better than it used to be.
Yep.
And then I was working on something, and then someone said to me, I like the tone of your voice, try this out. And then I tried it out, and it made sense.
And it's
then it stuck. I just continued.
It stuck and it got hooked.
Yes. I've been doing this for a while.
Yes, and really, a lot of people may not have seen you.
True.
But they would have heard you in one way or the other.
True.
So how does one perfect the ability to speak in various authentic African accents while maintaining a because I see a lot of flexibility and adaptability and
Yes.
whatever it is.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about that.
Okay, so the art of voiceovers involves a lot of study. It's not just about having a great voice.
Yes.
You need to also understand what you can use your voice to do, what you can achieve with your voice. So, to do an authentic African accent, you need to pay attention to what is required of you. If you're going to do an East African accent, how do the East Africans sound? If you're going to do a Northern African accent, if you're doing a West African accent, so you need to study to understand them. And then when you can understand them, you have more authenticity.
Authenticity.
Yes.
Yeah, so adaptable authenticity.
Yes.
Right?
That's what it is. Yes, that's what it is.
That's what it is?
That's what it is.
Great. So there must be a secret, that resonates so strongly with African top brands. You've done 70%. We hear, so what's the secret?
It's all about studying, really.
Yeah.
What I tell a lot of people is that it's not just enough to have a great voice or, study the accents. It's also very important to study the brand, study the product. You see, someone brings something to you and says, I want you to do a voiceover for me. It's not just about taking the product and then saying, okay, I'll just hop into a studio and no.
It's not just voicing.
No, it's not just voicing. It's understanding not just the brand, but also its target audience, the product, what they are asking you to do with it. When you put all those magical components together, then, you hear the commercial or you hear the documentary and you're thinking, oh my God, this was exceptional. Yeah. It takes all that effort.
And of course, that also goes a long way in getting clients' final nod.
Yes.
When you show understanding.
Yes.
And you're able
It's
to.
important.
Yes.
It's important.
Because I know that, I'm into a bit of this too. And I know that it's difficult to please clients.
Oh, yes.
So you'll be able to crack that with
Yes.
understanding,
Yes.
being adaptable.
Yes. See, nothing makes a client feel more proud of their brand than someone who has taken their time to study them and their brand, and then you prop them up with how their brand should sound. So you have a brand and you say, okay, this is, as clients are saying, this is how I want my brand to sound, and then when you voice and then show them what your brand could sound like, and they were like, "Oh my, this is lovely."
But you see, there are limits. We have limitations.
True.
Natural limitations.
True.
Yeah, I may wish to jump over 10 feet.
Yeah, well.
But no matter how hard I try, I'm not able to. How do you adapt your voice and tone, to suit varied projects such as we have commercials, we have audiobooks, we have all kinds of different things animations how do you adapt your voice to different situations?
Well, it's more of a human thing. Just like we're having a conversation. So as we're having a conversation, then a conversational read would apply to certain genres of voiceover.
Yes.
Then there are some points where you need to sound like you're speaking to a large audience and nobody's responding to you. You have to imagine, or sometimes, a lot of times, what we do in voiceover is imitation. We take real life instances and mimic them in the studio. So pretty much what you hear is somebody, the tone, you realize that, okay, you've attended a seminar and this guy has a command of the audience, and then you try to understand that command of the audience, so that when you have a voiceover in that genre, it's just a matter of copy, paste. So different things. If you're doing animation, then you're required to be more dramatic. And then, depending on what character, you need to study the character given to you. So the character could be somebody who just wakes up in the morning and wants to do something. The character could be somebody like, okay, that's what I'm going to.
So you have to.
So yes, and you have to pay attention, because you see, your eyes are probably the windows to understanding.
Okay, Eric, I'm at the airport.
Okay.
And the announcement comes, and I can't even fathom. I can't even make out what the people are talking about. Is it that they are not trained in voice overs, or what? Is that voiceover work?
It is voiceover work. Sadly, unfortunately, people don't, especially in this part of Africa, we don't put too much attention to the artistry of vocal delivery.
Yes.
So everyone just thinks that you pick up a microphone, attention, flight, coming in from this.
We never hear what they say.
We never hear what they say. But when you're,
it's intentional that we shouldn't hear what they say.
Well, I would agree with you on that, because I've missed a couple of flights as a result of that. But you see, they don't, here in Africa, we put artistry as it's talent, you push it to the back.
Yes.
We don't realize that these are things that make service delivery excellent. If you take someone who says attention, you don't hear anything.
I've not said anything.
And then you hear someone say, attention, this is flight, blah, 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 coming in from blah, blah, blah to blah, blah, blah. You please go to this terminal. And there's a joy knowing that, okay,
that you've been communicated with.
I don't need to ask somebody, sorry.
So what did they just say? Which is what happens.
So pretty much, but it's something we need to do a lot of.
Yes, we sure need to
improve
do that.
Communication.
And of course, there are other environments as well, or situations where, like on our mobile phones,
of course,
and different places,
of course.
And people don't think it's important to train those. It's so sad, isn't it?
It's sad. It's sad. It's sad.
So okay, of course you may have had some challenges, I'm sure, in this business.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of them, and how have you overcome?
Okay, so with someone like me, I've had both the internal and external challenges. Internally, because you require certain aspects to produce sound. I've had missing teeth due to certain deformities. So that causes some sounds that I'm not so proud of when I'm recording. I've had this nostril, for example,
nasal,
it's been blocked from childhood, as there's just a partial,
so it limits some of the things you would want to do.
Yes, so it limits the amount of oxygen I can breathe in and out when I'm doing a vocal delivery.
You're making this thing sound like a science.
Well, yes, it is important. It is important because when you take, for instance, if you take glass, a bottle, an empty bottle, and then you put water into it and you knock onto it, it has a different sound than when it's empty and and varying degrees of water. Yeah. So it is.
It is.
On the external side of things, of course, there's the structure of the Nigerian voiceover industry, which has been rough for the last 20, 30 years. Yes, the structure. The structures were put in place, but the Nigerian thing, people don't care about structure because you can't take them to court or send police after them. So that one is also there. Then of course there's the external forces of power, ease of doing business in Nigeria.
Yes.
The economy. Those also take a toll. The best thing you can do is you can only control the things that are within your scope. You can only fix the problems that are within your reach. So, for instance, I had the teeth that were behind. I had them removed. So yes, there's a gap.
That's what we call the wisdom teeth.
Yes. I had to have them removed. Yes, it changed my sound, but I had to find a way to sound better. With the nasal issue, I tend a lot to tilt. You have to find a way around all these things.
Yes.
With the structure thing, you do the best you can to work around the structure until you grow to the point where you can now demand for certain privileges. But that's pretty much it.
Eric, I'm so happy you're here. Just a few days ago, I think it was yesterday, my daughter called me.
Okay.
And she said, Papa, I'd like to I'd like to go into voiceovers.
Okay.
That people tell me, she said, people tell me that my voice sounds very good. Of course, her voice should sound very good.
Of course.
Of course, I mean,
of course.
Where else?
Of course.
So now, help me advise her.
Okay. So, this is what I would say to you, as someone who's about to go into voiceovers. Get trained. That's the first thing. Get evaluated, get trained, because it's important that people have a preparatory mindset going to this. It's not I have a great voice, I go into it. No. It's now a business. So first things first, you need to get evaluated to know that you have the right skill set. A great voice. Then you can start working on how to interpret scripts. That's where your training comes in, especially one-to-one coaching is the best thing. Then after you get coaching and then you start doing your demos, you need to learn how to market. You need to learn how to keep your books. You need to open a business because you see, like I said, back in the day, it used to be just artistry, but now it's more of a business, and it's very important that you treat it as a business. So, which means you need to have someone who does your books for your auditing, accounting.
For voiceovers?
Yes, it is. Yes, it's before it was called voiceover artistry. Now it's called the voiceover business.
Okay.
And you need to understand all these things. You might not be so proficient. You don't have to have an accounting.
But at least it has to be properly managed.
Yes, it has to be properly managed because if you don't do that, people who have done that will just go ahead of you. So
manage it right, your bookings, everything.
Even
your time, because sometimes you go to the studio and you go to the studio and you only allocated like an hour.
Unfortunately, that's the Nigerian problem.
And you end up spending the whole day.
Yes.
So if you manage it as a business,
it will it helps.
Even your client knows that I've kept this man beyond
the time.
1 hour. Now we have to start,
Yes, it's like I said, it's one of the problems.
We'll get there one day.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so. I've always believed that in terms of time management, if you put a price tag to your time, people start to understand not to abuse it. But when they don't have a price tag, they can abuse it.
And there are a lot of cowboys in the industry. So, and of course, so many of the clients who are not discerning enough, they probably don't even know what they want. I'm sorry to say that, but they don't really professionally know what they want. So it affects the business.
True.
I say this because I'm also in the business.
True.
So I have competition for you, Eric.
Okay.
AI.
Okay, so
are robots taking over
Well, this is not
business.
Terminator, unfortunately, where, hasta la vista, and they take over the world. Yes, there is a huge prevalence of AI now in the world, especially. And, sadly, some people are facing it. In Australia, in America, they're taking voices and using it on AI without notice. And, there are no laws preventing such things. I hope that the association I belong to, that's AVOA, the Association of Voice Over Artists of Nigeria, is working towards that. But at the same time, I've also noticed a couple of things when it comes to AI. I've also realized that when it comes to what AI can deliver in terms of originality of what a voice sounds like, they haven't conquered conversational interpretations. They haven't. When you're listening to something done by AI, it feels as if a robot is talking to you. And you see, relatability is very important because that's what brands depend on. There's a saying, commercials sell, narrations tell. Storytelling is important. And AI haven't learned how to give emotional.
That's right.
Convincing stories. So
That's right.
I'm sorry.
That's right.
Until that is conquered, I still have a job.
So still on AI.
Yes.
I've also noticed that there are times when we're using AI-generated voices.
Yes.
And the options we have are Ralph, Greg, Tony. We don't have Ebuka.
Yes.
And Shola. So is it that it's difficult, or they find it easy to generate authentic African voice?
Yeah.
There are limitations to the African tonations that you can get.
So generally, the world, when they speak English, they speak with certain word structures.
Yes.
Africans don't, especially Nigerians. If we go down to like pidgin, right now we're speaking with a neutral accent.
Yes.
Which is why someone will listen to us and not realize from first listen that, okay, we're Nigerians. But, when you start to speak with an accent that is like, for instance, I'm an Igbo man. If I start to move into an Igbo accent, do you think any computer will be able to mimic the way I say
it's not for computers.
Thank you.
It's too much for computers.
Exactly. So, a computer is focused on certain parameters.
Yeah, because
and then when those parameters are suddenly, okay, this is not. I did American accent. I understood the parameter. Yeah. I did Australian accent. I understood the parameter.
This one
passed me. So that's why it's hard. I've heard them try the Nigerian accent.
Yes. Yes. Even the Nigerian names. You can have a name.
Nigerians have not even mastered how to call their own names.
You can have a name that's spelled the same way and pronounced differently in different tonations.
Exactly.
In different dialects.
Exactly. So that's why,
It'll be a tough one for AI to crack.
Tough. Yes, it is.
I agree. It is. So, okay, just to wrap up, I think we're running out of time, as usual. How would you define success as a voiceover artist, and what are your aspirations moving forward?
Success for me would be constantly, adding your quota to developing Nigeria. Because at the end of the day, telling the African story also brings more benefit to myself as a Nigerian, as an African.
Yeah.
You watch a lot of things outside, and then there's a misrepresentation of what the average African or average Nigerian sounds like. That's one of the things that, success means bringing the world to tell them that, no, that's not what I sound like. That's not what an African or a Nigerian sounds like. This is how we sound.
Yes.
It's a global village, and every accent is now playing its part in its relevance into the way the world works.
Yeah.
So success for me is knowing that I am known,
yes,
I am heard, and brands are now dedicated to my people because we have a voice of our own and they understand us.
And they understand us. It couldn't have been better put, Eric. Thank you so much, Eric. I
Yes,
just want
it's an
to
honor.
also acknowledge that you're a Fimberian,
Yes.
ex-Fimberian,
Yes.
yeah, of
Yes.
school. I was so excited when I found out that we attended the same school, maybe at different times.
Yes.
Well, definitely at different.
I'm like 20 something. So.
Right. Thank you so much, Eric, for coming on the show. I mean, that was absolutely delightful. Your talent, I must say, is remarkable.
Thank you so much. Sir.
While Eric is here with me, let's share today's nugget. Okay. I have this nugget that I share with the viewers on every show.
Okay.
So the nugget for today is this: making words is not the same as making sense. In leadership and executive speech skills, it's not enough to speak. What matters is speaking with purpose and clarity. Making sense means delivering messages that are relevant, concise, and impactful. While words can fill time, only meaningful communication fosters trust and inspires action and builds connections. Great leaders focus on structuring their thoughts, understanding their audience, and speaking with authenticity. Whether addressing a team or a boardroom, the goal isn't to overwhelm with jargon or volume, but to resonate and motivate. True leadership communication is not about saying more, it's about saying what matters. So that's it for today. And John and Helen, I want you to join us again. I appeal that you join us again next week, 9:30 in the morning and 10:30 at night on PlusTvAfrica, DSTV 408, and Star Times 308.